Hey everyone, welcome back to BrickVault. My name is David and I'm here to show you around this brand new beautiful custom build by designer Gooby. This model has been in the works for quite some time. I myself have been anticipating this day because I just love this ship myself and have quite some fond memories of it from my childhood and some not so good ones too. But I'll get to that in a minute. This is the new class Republic attack shuttle used by the Republic and later by the Empire as well for missions far away from bases or capital ships. It was equipped with quite a few seats for passengers and of course it was also armed. This ship is the direct predecessor of the Lambda class shuttle, which makes total sense obviously. I always thought the Lambda looked much sleeker, maybe like a modern Porsche 911 compared to an older 924 for example, which in this comparison would be the new class. It's just something about the big cockpit that looked a little janky but also very rugged. This model consists of just over 7,000 parts and took a couple of days to put together. The parts were set you back only around 350 to 400 USD, which is an insanely good price per part, much better than any Lego set actually. That is because Gooby made the pieces that aren't seen on the exterior or interior any color, so when buying it on Bricklink, the site will select the cheapest colors of those parts. Pretty cool, although it may require a bit more sorting than your average model. Gooby also made the Imperial variant, so when you get the instructions, you can choose which one to build. Speaking of, if you're interested in building this frankly amazing shuttle yourself, as always you can find the building instructions on brickvault.toys together with a parts list that is able to be downloaded for free before you make your purchase. Also, in case you're new to the custom build world, we also have a video linked on our homepage that guides you through the process of buying the parts on Bricklink. And if you're based in one of the 35 countries neglected by Bricklink, I recommend using BrickVault, which is basically the same as Bricklink, but without the regional biases of large company greed. Anyways, every one of our amazing designers gets a fair share of the instructions, and you also help keep the lights on in the studio so we can see what we test build next for you. Now I promised I'll tell you what negative emotions I associate with this shuttle too, because it's not just fun and games all the time with Lego. It is a bit uncomfortable to share, but I'm sure it'll stay between us, so here's a little anecdote. I had the Republic attack shuttle set back in the day in 2009 when I saw a friend had it as well. I just had to get it myself, built it, loved it, and later on took it apart for the parts. So far so good. We had a family cat back then, Sammy was his name, and he used to be in my room all the time, and for some reason he thought it would be a good idea to pee on the pile of parts. I didn't notice that while taking apart the shuttle at first, only when I tried separating the parts with my teeth, as I'm sure everyone did back then. Yeah, sure enough, my cat and I had a rather strained relationship after that. But let's come back to the model. The shuttle itself on the stand is 51 centimeters tall and long, and has a wingspan of 72 centimeters. Here's a bag of nuts as a size reference. Quite the imposing build, and again an instance where my studio space might be just a little too small for this. Before you ask, yes, this is 100% minifinger scale and has a full-on fleshed out interior that we will come to in a few minutes. Let's finish off the exterior first. This model is built utilizing quite a few very interesting techniques. It uses a good mixture of smooth and studded surfaces, making use of a lot of snot, which means stud snot on top. You can see that on the wings for example, or on the body itself. But it also circles back to some more traditional building styles with tile and plate building. All visible studs are from either wedge plates or brackets. In my opinion, this has the perfect balance between smooth and studded. Something that gets overlooked often because it just blends in so perfectly is the color usage. This shuttle in universe had been on quite a few missions, you can tell, because Gooby didn't use only white parts, but mixed in some light bluish grey, dark bluish grey and reddish brown wherever it seemed fitting, and this gives the shuttle a very dynamic, lifelike appearance. It just makes sense that a shuttle like this has some wear and tear on it, and some of the painting came off from battles or landing on unsteady terrain or in areas with strong vegetation. The wings are also not flat at all. There are some slightly raised and slightly recessed areas, adding a lot of depth and realism. half plate heights, full plate heights, and also the height of container door pieces, which I think is also half a plate actually. The body itself is very weirdly shaped with this downward angle, but I always loved the look of this, and we have these raised areas that I'm not sure of what they are in universe, but they look cool and certainly add texture, and they also use my favorite technique, which is the use of panel pieces. Excellent use of the part here. In the back there are a couple of pipes visible on the exterior, not sure why they're on the outside of the ship, and the engineers weren't able to make space on the inside for these. They also look cool though, so I don't mind. The raised center section is very satisfying to look at and also to build, and it's also very strong, but I wouldn't recommend trying to pick it up from here because part of it can come off to access the interior that we'll come to in just a moment. I love how this dark red section is built and angled like this. This recessed octagonal shape in the front looks really cool, and how it's put together is also really interesting. Same for the back, where there are large panel pieces laid on their sides and filled up with pieces. This creates a really cool texture here, and this whole back part is rounded off super nicely with again panel pieces. You'll love to see it. On top is a small antenna, and that's one of the more flimsy parts of this model because this can be knocked off rather easily. In the back are the thrusters that have been put together in a way that I have never seen before. It doesn't really look like it at the end because they blend in so perfectly, but the technique used here is super unconventional but also a bit tricky to do, so I can understand if it's a bit frustrating to build, but the end result looks great. And it's surprisingly sturdy how everything comes together here. In the front is the completely disproportionately large cockpit. It has some interesting angling to it and is equipped with a couple of laser cannons. With the ones on the body, I think this is actually the only weaponry on this ship. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. What makes this cockpit so cool though is its interior. It has space for two pilots front to back. They both have simulated control screens in the front, and the rear seat has some cool details behind the seat using Asajj Ventress's lightsaber parts. Love the look of this, and of course both seats also fit minifigs, which is the most important thing here. Before I show you the other interior part, let's put the ship in landed position first. In its flight configuration, the ship is displayed on a black stand that clips into a couple of bars on the underside of the ship. By the way, a section that is also built up really nicely, especially with all these squirrel tiles down here. Something you'd probably never see if I didn't show you from this weird angle. The stand is built in a way that makes space for the landing gear to fold out. The shuttle has a 3-point landing gear with one skid in the front and 2 in the rear. It's necessary to fold them out when you want to take the ship off the stand and put it in landed position, because otherwise you will be left standing there with the shuttle in your hands and no way to place it on the ground, because the cockpit is actually lower than the main hull. So it needs to be placed on the landing gear or the stand. The landing gear holds up the ship perfectly fine, which is really cool, especially for large scale displays. I can see this being used in a Clone Wars era MOC. I can remember that one episode with Jar Jar Binks and that one politician that died during the emergency landing upon impact. Always thought that was a bit dark for a kids show, but I loved that episode for the realism. The wings fold up and actually get held in place by a small lift arm that acts as a lock on the underside on each side. It's basically a small piece going into a tooth of a gear piece, so it prevents the wings from folding down again. Anyways, when it's landed you can see that there is a ramp on the cockpit's front that can fold down, and it also has an extension on it that can fold down too to give your minifigs perfect access to the shuttle's interior. Really nicely done, and I love how there are simulated hydraulic actuators on the front hatch that actually go into the sidewalls when folded up. Really cool detail. The cockpit is actually connected to the main interior room, so this is a full-on walkway that your minifigs can technically go through. On the walls there are lights simulated and a few steps with grille tiles. The main interior section can be accessed by removing the roof. It is held in by clips going into rigid joints, so it's a loose connection but still holds the roof in place. The interior is jam-packed with seating, just like we see in the Clone Wars. Space for 12 passengers, and each one has a safety rail in front of them that can actually be folded down and hold the minifigure. This is especially cool because there are no studs on the seats, which makes it look cleaner, but the minifigs can still be held in place when you play with the shuttle. Excellent execution. There are also a few orange tiles to recreate lights, and in the back there is a simulated door, maybe to the restroom, who knows. You can see that Gooby really loves this ship because he put unnecessarily cool details into sections that almost never get seen. This Greebly section will get covered up by the roof, for example. Because of its sheer size and the weird shaping of the shuttle, it's not really intuitive to swoosh it around. It's technically possible if you know where to hold it, but it's a bit weird. It's much easier to just grab the stand and stabilize it with one hand. This is also how I would recommend picking it up. The model is really sturdy, but again you have to know where to hold it and grab it. Also be aware that the wing locking mechanism is nice, but it's not as reliable as you think, so if it's landed or if you have put up the wings while the ship is still on the stand, you want to be careful not bumping into the table so they don't fold out abruptly and take damage or knock the model off or so. It happened to me while building once, when I wasn't careful and didn't understand the locking mechanism quite yet, so let that be a warning. Otherwise, this model is as beautiful as it gets. And I'm super grateful to have it in my collection, especially after having seen Gooby and his shuttle on a couple of conventions already. It's like in that one sketch where there's a cake on the windowsill and you're that one super hungry cartoon character flying towards the scent of the cake and suddenly someone slams the window shut in front of you. I was that cartoon character and the cake was the shuttle, and I think you get that very well constructed comparison. Also, it just looks awesome next to our other shuttles, the Tiderium by Appetite for Construction and Brooksy's Theta class. Now there's only the Eta class and a Sentinel shuttle left, I think. So that's it for the new class shuttle. Love this model and hopefully someday I will have time to build a mock for this myself. If you want to get the instructions, don't forget to check out BrickVault or the link in the video description below. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe so you don't miss new releases, and I'll catch you in the next one at BrickVault.